Hey everybody, it's Brent with BC Doves, bringing you folks hopefully another watchable video. That's right, it's your week 4 college football preview. I'm feeling a little under the weather, just did a bunch of research, so if I'm dragging a little bit, I'm sorry. But I am looking forward to a great slate of games coming up this Saturday. There's some games going on right now. I think Rice is playing, there's a couple of games going on tomorrow night. But nothing really, tomorrow night, but nothing really of note to speak about. I want to address something before I go any further. Anybody watching my channel knows that on Saturday, as we watch college football together as a community, I like to get on here and create a bunch of shorts as I'm, seeing stuff in real time on TV. And this last Saturday, it was the Texas A&M and Notre Dame game, which was an amazing game. Last Saturday was an amazing weekend of college football with Tennessee and Georgia, Texas, Notre Dame, and Clemson, Georgia Tech. It was just a great day of college football. But anyway, I make parlays. I give out my best bets in these videos that I do on Thursdays for the week. And I talk about what my best bets are and what my bets that I made are and everything else. So I have receipts. Well, I had commented on my video when Texas A&M beat Notre Dame that I had hit my 4-game parlay. And it was a stretch. I had West Virginia to win in their game. I had Texas A&M to beat Notre Dame in Indiana, in South Bend, and a couple other games. I can't remember what they were right now, but it hit. I bet $10 on a 4-game parlay and won $239. And somebody commented and said, I'm calling BS on that. Well, on one of my shorts. All you have to do, if you're watching these videos, and I'm not saying I'm some guru or whatever, but I do study college football and patterns in college football, so I try to bet with some sort of an educational take on how I'm betting. And also, just so everybody knows, I don't bet a ton of money. It is strictly entertainment for me. I look at betting on football as the same thing as if I go to the movies or I buy a vinyl record or something else. I'll never spend more than $20, $30 on a week betting on college football. I do 3 to 4 game parlays, $10 a bet. Sometimes I'll reach to try to get a little bit, but most of them pay out maybe $130. But that particular instance paid out $239 because I took a stretch. I think the stretch game that I took was the West Virginia game. But I do believe every team that I had in that 4-game parlay was in the plus. So I did all right. But someone did comment, and I'm a big boy. I can take the comment, and they call BS on it. All I would say to that commenter, if you watch this video, go back and watch my preview video of that week. And I explained the bet that I made before the last game finished late on Saturday night. So that's all I got to say about that. I know haters are going to hate, but whatever. So what? But that's all I got to say about that. But we got a great set of games coming up this Saturday. If you like this kind of content, feel free to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're up to 287 viewers now. I know my sound quality is not the best and my setup's not the best. But this year, before the end of the year or at the beginning of next year, I am going to get a little bit of a studio going with a desktop and a real mic and everything else because I really am passionate about talking about college football. I also talk about vinyl records on my channel right here. We do that kind of content on this channel. I was just listening to that. That was Counting Crows, August, and everything after. I was listening to that record, as a matter of fact, when I was making my notes here. But anyway, I'm rambling on. Let's get into what we got. We're going to break down a couple of games that I find or that I think are interesting coming up Saturday. Texas Tech versus Utah. And if you see me looking down, I'm reading my notes here. Clemson, Syracuse. We got South Carolina at Mizzou, Michigan, Nebraska, and Florida at Miami. And, of course, the big one for me, because everybody can clearly tell I'm an Auburn fan, the big one for me is going to be the Auburn-Oklahoma game, which we'll break down at the end. And when that's over, we're going to talk about what I think the best bets are for the week and what my bets are, which are two different things. So let's talk about Texas Tech and Utah. Full transparency, I haven't watched Texas Tech or Utah, either one, play a lot of football this year. But I do know that Texas Tech's quarterback, what's his name, Behern Morton. I hope I'm saying that right. My apologies if I'm not. Still for 923 yards on the season, 11 touchdowns, and only 1 interception. And has a QBR of 81.2. If you're into that kind of thing, QBR, they don't tell the full story, but It's up there, with some of the highest in the country at 18th in the nation. I don't believe Texas Tech has been tested yet defensively, going back and looking at the teams that they beat so far this year, like they're going to be tested in this Utah game. The toughest team they've even played so far is Oregon State, and Oregon State really isn't, that nothing to write home about right now. I hope them folks find the conference out there, in Beaver Country there, Oregon State. Utah's quarterback, now they finally moved on from Cam Rising, who seemed to be perennially injured every year. And leave a comment down below if it seemed like Cam Rising was at Utah for like the last 50, 60 years or something. It seemed like that kid was there every year, and he'd get hurt every year, so he'd get another year to play. I hate it for the kid, but he's no longer there. Now we have Devin Dampier, who's thrown for 628 yards, 7 touchdowns with 0 picks. But Utah's defense is a very tough and stern defense. I don't know if Morton is going to be able to throw all the way, all up and down the field over those DBs that Utah's got over there. The spread is Utah minus 3.5. The over/under at 56.5. I'm not going to touch this game from a betting perspective, but for the interest of college football, I like Utah's defense to prevail. I just know more about Utah. Traditionally, I think that they're always very well coached. Their coach is just one of the best in the country, and he always seems to rise to the occasions of playing in these big games. Texas Tech spent a ton of money on their team, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I am saying there's something wrong with that, and I know all teams do it. Auburn does it, but I don't like it. But that's just the nature of it this year. They spent a ton of money on their team. They're trying to buy a playoff run. They very well may get it. I think we're looking at the two teams. Either one of these teams could win the Big 12. I think we clearly know that Kansas State isn't going to win the Big 12 this year. But really, anybody other than that, Kansas, Arizona State, Baylor, any of those teams can win the Big 12. But I think you're looking at, in this matchup Saturday, this early week 4 matchup, Big 12 matchup, I think you're looking at one of these two teams coming out of this game are going to be in the Big 12 championship game. And I think it's going to be Utah. So give me Utah to win that game. Like I said, not laying a dime of my money on it. You can put some of your money on it if you feel so inclined. But if you do, please bet responsibly. I'll say that. Next up, we got Clemson and Syracuse. What kind of Clemson team are we going to get? Dabo Swinney had one of the wildest press conferences you'll ever see, where it seemed like he was trying to gaslight on everybody. Like, people were trying to say he should be ran out of there, should be fired, and nobody has said that. And it would be insane to if you were a Clemson fan, to want to fire Dabo Swinney. I mean, he brought that program from nothing into a nationally recognized program that it is today. And 2 national championships, 3 or 4 I don't know how many playoff berths. I said 2 to 3 or 4 playoff berths, but it's been way more than that. But all that being said, we all know where the frustration comes from with the Clemson fan base and the national general fan of Clemson football is the Dabo way, the Clemson way, which is a different way. And I'm not saying that the way is either good or bad. I love the fact that Dabo stands on his principles and doesn't want to go in the transfer portal and wants to do it the old traditional way. I do respect that. I really do. But I also believe he's going to die on that hill if he doesn't change his ways. And what I would say to Dabo is, it's not an even playing field anymore. So I understand your principles, and you're a man of principles, and you don't want to take a bunch of transfers. And if you come to Clemson, you stay at Clemson. I understand all that. But everyone else around you isn't playing by the same set of rules. And that's the thing that I don't think, I know that Dabo understands it, but I don't think he's going to change on that. The old adage is 2 wrongs don't make a right. I agree with that 100%. And if Dabo was to take a bunch of players out of transfer portal next year, what would everybody say then? Well, he's not a man of principle, and he'd be ragged on for that. So I don't know what you do there if you're Clemson with the transfer portal and the way Dabo Swinney does things there. You can't really be mad at him for wanting to be a traditionalist and stand on principle. At the same time, It's frustrating. I mean, there's nothing wrong with going out, and I still think that he can still stand on his principles to go out and get one of these elite wide receivers that are in the transfer portal every year. All Clemson needs, because they always are going to recruit well, is just a couple key players. And in the traditional sense, I think that's what the transfer portal really was ever supposed to be, was for these bigger programs, was not to build your entire roster. We're not talking about a Colorado here or a Texas Tech, but to plug and play. I still believe you have to recruit really well and develop players, especially along the lines of scrimmage out of high school. And then you plug and play and you cherry pick certain skill position players that are out there in the market. And I think until Dabo Swinney does that, I think you're going to see a continual drop off in his win percentages up there at Clemson. And once it gets to a certain point, and those 4 losses, those 3 losses turn into 4 losses a year, and those 4 losses a year turn into 5 losses a year, then those high school recruiting rankings start to dwindle down a little bit, and maybe not everybody wants to go there anymore. And then you do have a problem if you're Clemson, because now you're not recruiting at a high level, which I don't think will ever be a major problem, but your recruiting will drop off, and you're not taking players out of the transfer portal. Then what do you do? So I think Clemson beats Georgia Tech if they have a skilled player that got out of the transfer portal. I don't know what's going on with Clemson's offense. I can't tell you what's going on with Clemson's offense. I don't know why Cade Klubnik looks like he has regressed in that offense. The best I could say is that the offensive line isn't what it was last year, and the receivers aren't playing up to expectations at all. Excuse me, let me get my water. At all over there in Clemson. And until that gets corrected, I think they're just kind of stuck in the mud over there. I think they got a great defensive line, and Clemson's generally and traditionally under Dabo Swinney has always had a great defensive line. And that's what's kept them in these games, and that's what's kept them in that Georgia Tech game, because it certainly isn't the offense. The offense for Clemson is anemic at best, and it's a shame when you got a talent back there like Cade Klubnik. This Clemson team should have at least, in my opinion, been one game better than they were last year, and yet they've fallen off, in my opinion, further than they were last year, if that makes sense. But to get back to the game, Clemson and Syracuse. Syracuse does not look great. It's the line is minus 16.5. Clemson, the over/under is 54.5. I actually did take Syracuse at plus minus 16.5 in this game is one of my best bets. We'll get to that later in the video. I do think Clemson wins the game. I don't think it's a high scoring game because Clemson has to show me they can score high. Yes, Syracuse defense isn't great. But I just, until Clemson puts a bunch of points on the board, I'm going to be skeptical of their offense. So give me Syracuse at plus 16.5. Next up, we have South Carolina at Mizzou at 7 o'clock. Yes, you heard that right. Mizzou is actually going to play a night game. They're at home. They don't seem to do that very often. It's like they're always playing in the daytime. But Mizzou gets the night game at 7 o'clock. The spread on this game is Mizzou minus 9.5 with the over-under at 48.5. Sellers is questionable in this game. Went down with a hit to the head. Concussion, I would assume. And I would like to think that if Shane Beamer's got him as questionable, that he is going to start in this game. But I don't know if the rest of you, Mizzou just never gets talked about. I don't know why. They just don't. They're like the forgotten team out there in college football, especially down here in Southeastern Conference country. We just never seem to talk about them. I don't know what it is, but I'm telling you one thing. I've literally watched with my own eyes Mizzou play 2 games this year, and they are legitimate. Defense is a little lackluster. I'll give you that. But that Perdula, or is it Perdula? Perdula? I can never get this guy's name right. Comment down below on the correct pronunciation of the quarterback from Mizzou's name. Is freaking dynamic. And they have that big old tall tight end and great wide receivers, and they can run the ball. They're putting up a lot of points this year on just anybody. Yes, they haven't played a lot of tough teams. They did play Kansas, which, their defense, whatever. South Carolina will be the best defense that they played, but I do like Mizzou at home. at minus 9.5 in this game. I just think that Mizzou's offense is too much for South Carolina's offense to keep up with. Even though Sellers comes back, what is he going to be 100%? We don't really know that. I think Sellers keeps this game close through 3 quarters, but I think that passing attack from Mizzou just finally wears them out, and I think Mizzou wins by 10 easily in that game. What happened to South Carolina, man? I don't know. Their offense is very similar to Clemson's. We thought that they would take a step ahead this year and be a better offense than what they were, and at least, kind of start the season kind of at least back where they were offensively, but they seem to have taken a step back as well, just like Clemson. So Shane's got some things to figure out on the offense there, but I like Mizzou in that game. One of the big games that's on Saturday is Michigan at Nebraska. The rule of 3, they say, under year 3, Matt Rule wins 10 games, and that, traditionally speaking, that's correct. That is correct. Everywhere he's been, check the stats, man. That's correct. But I mean, is there anything to that? I don't know, because then like the 4th year, he doesn't do so good. So I don't know. So if the rule of 3 mean something for the 3rd year, then I guess next year you can look for a drop off from Nebraska. I don't really know. This game started earlier in the week when Nebraska favored at minus 1.5. The line is completely shifted now to the money line to Michigan at minus 1.5. I'm not putting a penny of my money on. Actually, I am. Excuse me. I am betting this game, and I'll tell you how I'm betting it here at the end of the video. In case anybody's wondering, it's not a knock on Bryce Underwood. I will say this: Michigan's defense is legitimate. They do have a salty defense there in Michigan. They have played already a tough road game and going into Norman, Oklahoma at night under Bryce Underwood, true freshman quarterback. So he's already got his feet wet, so to speak, in the road game environment. So he has that going for him, at least. I think Nebraska's that fan base for Nebraska is hungry. I mean, anybody with half a brain would tell you that. I think they're licking their chops at this season. I think they're buying into all the hype. I think with Raiola, and I like Raiola as a quarterback, I think he's going to do really good this year. And I think that stadium's going to be loud and raucous and rowdy. I do. And I think it rattles Bryce a little bit. Funny stat about Bryce, and I know he's a true freshman, so I'm not knocking him, and he will get better. I don't know if he's going to get better under that offensive coordinator over there at Michigan, though. I don't know. I don't know if Bryce Underwood is going to get properly utilized as under that head coach and that offensive scheme at Michigan. I really don't. But nice to be in Auburn. But anyway, he's only thrown 2 touchdowns, 1 interception through 3 games. So not great. Not expecting a whole lot out of Bryce Underwood as a true freshman, but maybe a little bit better than that. He did play running that salty defense of Oklahoma, but still, those aren't great stats. Now, he has rushed for 2 more touchdowns. Or I think 3 more. I think he has 5 or 6 total touchdowns. So he does run around a lot. They didn't use him a lot running around. They didn't use his legs a lot in the Oklahoma game. I don't know if that was something by design or if Oklahoma was just not allowing that and keeping him contained. I will go back tomorrow night and watch that Oklahoma-Michigan game again to gain some research on the Auburn game that's coming up on Saturday. I like Nebraska in this game. I like Nebraska to win. I took Nebraska plus 1.5 to win this game. I just think that I like Raiola's experience over Bryce Underwood's experience here. I think it's a low-scoring game, but I think Nebraska gets it done and starts the season 4-0, and then they're really going to be chomping at the bit over there in Lincoln. Funny game. Just wanted to bring this up. And I don't have a lot of interest in this game, so to speak, but I just thought this was interesting. So Florida's going to Miami on their second road game of this treacherous stretch that the Florida Gators have to play after dropping that untimely game to USF that they could not afford to lose. DJ Lagway has looked absolutely horrible this year, which, I'm not surprised. I'm not hating on DJ Lagway, but I don't understand all the offseason hype. He didn't have, his numbers weren't great last year, but if you listen to the Florida Gator fans all off season, and a lot of national pundits as well. DJ Lagway was, in the top 5 of everybody's Heisman list, and now he's in the bottom of the SEC in QBR. So, for whatever it's worth, I, for one, did not jump on the DJ Lagway hype train. I like some other quarterbacks around the league better than him. Sawyer Robinson was one out of Baylor, I thought, that isn't getting enough recognition. This Baron Morton over there at Texas Tech, I don't think he's getting enough recognition. And I think everybody who thought was going to be in the front runner of the Heisman at the beginning of the year is not even going to be in it by the end of the year. I really think that. And when you think about Nussmeier, when you think about Cade Klubnik, you think about DJ Lagway. Now we're going to be talking about people like John Mateer, more on that in a minute. Sawyer Robinson, Carson Beck. These are going to be guys, I think, Jackson Arnold. Yeah, Jackson Arnold. More on that in a minute as well. These are guys that are going to be rising up, I believe, the Heisman watch list that were not even on. I mean, maybe Mateer and Carson Beck were low down on people's Heisman's list, but I think you're going to see them start rising there on people's Heisman's list. But the funny thing about this game, the spread on this game is Miami at -9.5 with over under 52.5, which I think is crazy. I think Miami beats Florida going away. I think Carson Beck's familiar with Florida. He's familiar with Billy Napier's defense down there. He being the quarterback of Georgia, he's played against Billy Napier 2 times already. I think he carves them up with those receivers. I think Miami's defense they've shored up their defensive backs over there this offseason. Excuse me. And they're just a lot better than they were last year. Last year they couldn't stop a nosebleed, but now they seem to be doing great. And I'm not taking too much away from the USF game. If you go back and watch my video from last week, I said that I thought that Miami would just take care of business and just annihilate USF. I think USF was punching above their weight in their first 2 games, and good on them for doing that. And I don't take anything away from USF for losing the way they did to Miami, but I just thought that, USF was going to be exposed a little bit, which also internally exposed UF on how bad they are. Now, UF does have a good defense, but I don't think it's enough with this passing attack that Carson Beck's going to have. I like Miami way more than 9.5 points in this game. I think Miami wins by 14 points in this game. That's the best bet. And then we have one other game I want to talk about. It's Michigan State at USC. Not anybody's talking about this game. And I understand why. It's a late kick. They have USC at -18.5. The over-under is at 55.5. I'm going to take the over in this game. Michigan State's put up a lot of points this year. They've given up a lot of points. But they've also put up pretty good points this year, and USC has as well. So I like the over in that game. If you want to catch a late night snack, that game's coming on, I believe it is, at 11 o'clock. Now, let's get to what we all came here for if you're an Auburn fan. And let's talk about this Oklahoma and Auburn football game. The game that we've all been waiting for as Auburn fans. I can't speak for Oklahoma fans. Oklahoma fans probably not, because if you, and listen, I don't want this to come off as trash talking or whatever, but man, these Oklahoma fans are something else, man. If you just listen to them talk, they won like the last 4 national championships, and they just think that they're the best thing since sliced bread. I know that they're a blue blood program, but you haven't been that great under Brent Venables, and you didn't win anything under Lincoln Riley. I mean, you went to the playoffs, but you didn't win a championship on some of those best offenses, those all-time offenses you all had. Or Oklahoma, I don't say y'all, Oklahoma had out there, because they couldn't fill the defense. Well, now they went in the extreme opposite direction as a fan base and a university and the boosters, and they were so sick of not seeing defense being played out there at Oklahoma, they went and got one of the best masterminds of defense that's out there in Brent Venables, and we all know the story or whatever. But I do want to address the overall crap talking that Oklahoma is doing all over the internet. I haven't seen, and most Auburn and homers that I've seen on YouTube have picked Oklahoma to win this game. Auburn is a 7.5-point dog in this game for a reason. So I don't understand all the hate that's coming from Oklahoma fans unless they're just a nasty fan base like Georgia and Alabama. Georgia and Alabama fan bases, if anybody knows, are notoriously insufferable fan bases. And I, would have never thought that about Oklahoma because they're new to the SEC. I didn't really follow them that much. I follow them generally because they are a blue blood college football program, but not to know them like they're acting right now. And I just think that the more it's been going on all week and the more junk that they keep talking all week, I don't know if they're trying to convince themselves that they're going to beat Auburn on Saturday. They have a good chance to beat Auburn on Saturday, but not in the way I think that they think they're going to do it. I think that Oklahoma thinks, the Oklahoma fans think that Auburn's going to roll in there and they're just going to beat Auburn 42-10 and just roll on to the next game. That's what I really believe that they think. And now listen, it's hard as an Auburn fan right now. We've been in the wilderness since 2019 and just in a notoriously bad stretch for Auburn football. And a lot of people don't know this, but if you look up top 25 programs of all time in college football, I think Auburn ranks 20th on that list. No, we're not a blue blood by any means, nor would I ever say anything like that, but we have always been a proud program of an 8, 9, 10 win program for as long as I can remember. And I grew up watching Auburn football since I was 6 or 7 years old. So yes, this stretch that we're on right now is a bad stretch. It just is. But, this little brother to Alabama and Georgia is garbage. Right now, yeah, they're whooping up on us. And, yeah, sure. But at the end of the day, Auburn's went through stretches where they beat Alabama like 9, 10 years in a row. They went through stretches where, the Georgia and Auburn thing's always been evenly matched until the last, since Kirby Smart got there. But ask Mark Rick about playing Auburn and Pat Dooley and all those guys. They'll tell you. But, yeah, it's just, Auburn's not going to go into Norman, Oklahoma scared. It's not intimidating for an Auburn fan to go into Norman, Oklahoma. Auburn plays in Baton Rouge at night. Auburn plays at Texas A&M and Kyle Field every year. Auburn plays at Alabama. Auburn plays at Georgia. And matter of fact, Oklahoma, if it wasn't for a untimely, stupid, moronic pick six by Peyton Thorne last year, you would know about the Auburn way, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? Oklahoma, man. And yes, your guy did pick that ball off. It took skill to do it. And yes, he did score a touchdown to win that game last year. So I'm not taking anything away from that. That's what it took there at the end of the game. In a game, really, where Auburn handled Oklahoma for most of the game. So, you got a short memory there, OU, man. Real short memory. Now, yes, I grant it that we're going to your house. And we're playing in Norman. Not a night game. I do expect it to be rowdy. It's a 3:30 kick. A lot's been made of this Jackson Arnold, John Mateer, David Goliath. For lack of a better, I don't want to say David Goliath, but this quarterback matchup that's fixing to happen in this Oklahoma and Auburn football game. Well, let's talk about this quarterback matchup real quick. Since, Oklahoma fans just believe that they're just going to annihilate Auburn. Let's talk about this real quick. I wrote some stats down. Yeah. Let me look at these. Jackson Arnold's QBR is 86.7 and ranks 9th in the country in total QBR. That's 9. That's top 10 in the country. That's efficiency. At its highest peak. You can say, well, he hasn't pushed the ball downfield and he can't do that and he holds on to the ball too long. Well, he hasn't taken a lot of sacks. Maybe he's just making the right reads. Maybe he's just taking what the defense has been giving him. And maybe, just maybe, Oklahoma maybe they haven't thrown the ball downfield yet because they just haven't had to. But don't think for 1 minute that Horatio Fields and Malcolm Simmons and Singleton and Cam Coleman can't get open on one-on-one matchups, because they can. And if Jackson Arnold's got a little bit of time in that pocket and he can see it, he's going to get it to him. He's 50% on his deep balls on the year. John Mateer's 50% on his deep ball. Actually, Jackson Arnold on passes over 15 yards is 56.7%. John Mateer on passes over 15 yards is 50%. I mean, I know we're splitting hairs here. I'm just saying, remember Oklahoma fan, y'all are going to beat us 48-10. Just remember. Let's talk about some other stats. Auburn's rush defense. And I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the Oklahoma's had some struggles running the ball this year. I think Stott was the running back that y'all thought was going to be your number one. Turns out he's not doing that great. I believe your leading rusher is your quarterback, John Mateer. Auburn doesn't have that problem. We have a running quarterback, but he's not our leading rusher. We have a traditional run offense with some people you may have heard of, Damari Austin and Jeremiah Cobb. They'll be, and then Jackson Arnold too. So we'll be throwing the three-headed monster at you there. And he might even pull it a couple times. And I don't know. Auburn ranked second in the SEC in rush defense, only behind LSU, and 10th nationally. So now we're top 10 in QBR, and we're top 10 nationally and only giving up 61 yards a game running the football. We haven't given up a rushing touchdown all year. Now, I will say this, Oklahoma is fourth in total defense, which is pretty damn good. That's pretty good, and it's scary. And I'm going to get into what my real feelings are. This is just kind of a trash-talking portion of the video to Oklahoma fans who've been ragging Auburn fans all week about how we're going to just, get annihilated by Oklahoma, when I haven't seen an Auburn fan saying that yet about Oklahoma. This is my chance to get back a little bit. Oklahoma is 44th nationally, respectable. In total defense. Passing defense a little scary for Auburn though. But John Mateer likes to turn the ball over a little bit there, don't he, OU man? More on that in a minute. Oklahoma's rush defense is 34 nationally, so it's pretty good. That's pretty good. Let's talk about John Mateer's numbers. He was not in the top 10 in QBR. He's thrown 5 touchdowns on the year with 3 picks. So, 5 touchdowns, 3 picks. Now, is he electric with the wild plays and the running around and creating and throwing and just, yeah, he is electric. When plays break down and receivers scramble around for Oklahoma, he's electric, and he can make things happen. And I do expect for him to be able to do that against Auburn's pass defense. But I don't think they're going to make it in the end zone on those long pass plays. And I think that when Oklahoma gets down there in the red zone, I think it could be a problem for Oklahoma. Especially with Auburn not giving up any rushing touchdowns so far in the year, and forcing John Mateer, who does have 3 picks, to throw short yardage touchdowns in the red zone. Also, those 3 picks that came when when John Mateer was not under pressure and had a clean pocket. So what that tells me through 3 games is that when Mateer is sitting there and he's got all the time in the world, he kind of spazzes out and makes bad decisions. But when he's playing backyard football, he can make things happen. So, let's talk about the game. Trash talking portion of this video is over with. And then we'll get into the best bets and we'll get out of here. This game's going to come down to the line of scrimmage, basically. Auburn's offensive line against Oklahoma's defensive line. If Auburn can come out in this game and they can run for 3 to 4 yards to carry and get ahead and get the early, stay ahead of the chains. Oklahoma doesn't give up a lot of touchdowns either. Their defense is really, really good. But if they can stay ahead of the chains and move the ball and kind of control the tempo of the game and and can control the clock and move the ball on the ground, that will open up some RPO stuff in the passing game. I think that Hugh Freeze has intentionally kept some wrinkles out of this offense, and I know that DJ Durkin has kept some wrinkles out of this defense, because if you watch the last 2 games for Auburn, they've been about as vanilla as a banana wafer. I mean, they have just been as vanilla and plain as you could possibly be. Anybody that's watched Auburn knows that. I think they've been putting Jackson Arnold in positions to kind of get him ready to play this game. And I think he's ready. Now, I can't quantify whether Jackson Arnold's going to go in there and be overhyped and, kind of forcing the issue because of his return to Oklahoma and everything else. But I don't think so. I think Auburn's going to play an inspired football game. I think that they will be able to run the ball with some success in this game, just enough to keep this game close through 4 quarters. And this game is close and through 4 quarters, I like Auburn's chances. I do. Now, if Oklahoma comes out to an early 14, 17-point lead, 13-point lead, or whatever it is, and starts forcing Hugh Freeze to try to force the ball up the field and force passes, I don't like Auburn's chances in that. But I think Auburn's defense, which is a bend but don't break defense through the first 3 games so far this year, keeps the game manageable through the first half of this football game and stays in this game. And we're in the 4th quarter. And if you're in the 4th quarter and it's a 1-score game, anything can happen. And if Auburn plays that game, Auburn wins. If Oklahoma comes out and he's slinging it, and these receivers for Oklahoma, this Burks and these guys are running past our DBs like have been known to happen so far this year, and they start breaking 40-yard passing touchdowns, it's over for Auburn. But I don't think that's going to happen. I like Auburn in this game. I like a low-scoring game. Give me Auburn 24, Oklahoma 17. That's my final prediction in the game. Woo! That's good. It's a long video, 37 minutes. All right. Best bets, I like the under 61.5 at Arkansas at Memphis. Remember, go back and watch this video for y'all call BS on me on Saturday. My best bets are the under 61.5 Arkansas versus Memphis. I like the under in that. I like the plus 16.5 Syracuse at Clemson. Clemson's going to beat Syracuse, but they haven't shown me enough offense to beat them by more than 2 touchdowns. I like the over 46.5. I'm sorry, the under 46.5 at Auburn, Oklahoma. And I like Nebraska at plus 1.5 at Michigan. Those are my best bets. My bets, I bet Michigan State plus 19.5 at USC. Sam Houston State 39.5 plus 39.5 at Texas. That is Sam Houston State plus 39.5 at Texas. These are the bets that I made. I like Baylor minus 2.5 at Arizona State. And I like Miami at minus 9.5 against Florida. Anyway, if you stayed this long, man, I really appreciate it. Smash that like button for me. It really helped me out. And I hope everyone enjoys their Friday. And I cannot wait to see you folks on Saturday on the internet. And we can comment back and forth and talk about what we're seeing in these games. Until next time, we'll see you later.